Hey guys, I'm having a hot mess of a time with my internet and with the electricity here in Costa Rica. Right now, they're telling us tomorrow they're going to cut off the electricity, but they keep kicking it down the road. So who knows? Anyway, I'm Suzanne Tinkemeyer. I'm here for Taco Tuesday because I talk about religion and wanted to talk a little bit about today. You're going to ask if you come here and you don't know me. Strive for a place called Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering that had to do with the quiverful evangelical movement, the non-denominational places. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about the words we use when we leave fundamentalism, because David Hayward, who you may not know, he is the Naked Pastor. You do nakedpastor.com, you'll come up on all his artwork. He does all these fabulous cartoons and artwork. He used to be a pastor, now he's an artist. I don't know what else he does, but he is a friend of mine. He was on Pathos too until it bounced off. And he this morning did a cartoon about dirty words because when we leave these places, we leave behind our coded language and we start being real with each other. And sometimes we start using those colorful vulgarities. And I love colorful vulgarities, even though you will never hear me. Well, almost never hear me uttering them on YouTube because YouTube likes to spank you, slap you on the wrist every time you say those words. So I try not to ever say those words. And I was thinking about this a lot this morning after seeing that, painting my fingernails on my toenails, I'm sorry, and just contemplating because so much has been said lately about this stuff. Um, And the thing is with words, I don't think that words are bad, intentions are bad, things like that are bad, intentions behind the words. But if you drop a hammer on your foot and you yell the F word, guess what? It's pretty appropriate. And when you're in these CULT like churches, these taco churches, the totalitarian, authoritative church organizations, they are going to try to shut down your language and teach you a whole new thing. They're going to say things like fellowship instead of saying hanging around with somebody becomes fellowship. And there's a million other little words like that that they mean something totally different in the outside world. If you're actually doing something and you're acting like a normal human being and like an adult, they mean different things. So many of us, when we leave, take with us that thing where we don't curse, we don't use naughty language. And I gotta tell you, that is completely ridiculous. Because, like I said earlier, there are no bad words. There's only bad intentions behind the bad words. And some of us like to coast fundamentalism, spout those words on the regular. There are studies that show that people that carry on and curse, people who use swear words, are more honest, and more compassionate. And I believe that from what I've experienced just leaving my old church and being jolted by somebody saying those things. It's like, am I watching a Andrew Dice Clay routine because I hear so many of them. And it's funny because the prohibition on some things like words really vary from place to place. And a lot of times it's made up nonsense. It's like the reason I'm flashing this around is Lori Alexander, for example. She hates this stuff. She says that this stuff causes cancer. Well, you know something? It might, in large enough quantities. And it's not good to breathe the fumes of this crap. I wouldn't work in a nail salon, I can tell you that. But to paint your toenails every now and then, you're not going to be inhaling enough of anything to come down with the big C. So that is Lori's sincere belief. She based it on the fact that her mother got a manicure every single week as an adult woman. and had her nails painted and somehow ended up with cancer. That's nobody's rule. That's kind of like saying because you see it raining outside and the person standing outside in the rain develops measles, that rain causes measles. It's just not a hard and fast thing that you can put. So there's so many things in Quiverful, and especially Quiverful, Evangelical, the non-denominational places with the high demands, the taco type churches that use their weird little language and to try to be a blessing to you. That was the one that really killed me when I had the really horrible person as a um, house sitter here that let her bring their brother in and trash my house. I said, I was just trying to be a blessing to you. I said, well, I don't want that kind of blessing. I'd rather be cursed than blessed if that's what that means. So you have to really decode what they're saying when you're around them. And if you're like me, you try to hold back your salty language and you don't. You don't have any choice sometimes but to say the choice salty thing. And, that's okay too. That is genuinely okay. The way you want to talk is however. So I'm going to link in the description to David Hayward and his cartoon today on cursing because so many people have been fighting about it in his comments. It's actually kind of funny because it's such a hot button issue for people coming out of religion. And it doesn't need to be a hot button issue. There's so many things. Like I was trying to use the Lori Alexander story about this. And then she tells you not to use makeup too, but she clearly uses it. And she's not the only one. But I'll use powder and lipstick. That's it. That's it. That's it these days because it's too hot here to use anything else. And I'm always doing something. Today I'm in floppy clothing, get ready to do something. And I think about her and her rules about be feminine, but try not to be too fancied up and don't be too fancied up and doing like this. And then you'll see her on TikTok using a filter. It makes her look better than she is and younger than she is. And I just laugh. Rules for thee and not for me. That's very common too. That's one thing I love about the righteous gemstones. There's a lot of cursing that goes on there, a lot of bad words used. But I know from being behind the scenes at a lot of big ministries that sometimes that happens. Sometimes somebody has a super foul mouth behind the scenes, and you look at them going, okay, and you're Christian. So the language thing is filled with so much hypocrisy. So many times the language is hateful and bad. And like they used to say, there ain't no hate like Christian love. There's a great deal of that going on too, and the language. I remember specifically before I left my church, and I didn't include this in my book. I probably should have. One of the guys sent me the world's nastiest email, very bad email. Why? Because I'd stopped being friends with him and his wife after he had, and this is in the book, after he had used me as an excuse. He said that he told his wife he was going to see this art exhibit, example, a Vermeer exhibit, Johann Vermeer, and that I was up there too, and in DC at the Smithsonian, and I gifted him a ticket because it was expensive. Told his wife that it was a lie. He was laying up in the bed with some other woman from our church who used me as an excuse too, and I didn't know it. And both of parties approached me. Thank you for being such a blessing and encouragement. That's another one of those words. Such an encouragement and a blessing to my husband. I'd given him a ticket to see the Johann Vermeer thing, and it's so good of you to do that. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I certainly did not go see the Vermeer exhibit. I like Vermeer, but not enough to pay that much money for a ticket to see exhibit at the Smithsonian. I just wouldn't do it. So he was mad because I quit being friends with him and his wife after that point, after he had used me as an excuse when I had not been with him. And he started sending me some very nasty emails, very, very nasty, and accusing me of all kinds of things, including being a movie film snob. That one might be a little bit true. I still tend to watch a little more on the indie side than the big blockbusters. I can't tell you a word about any of the superhero or Marvel movies, except for the fact that one of them stars Jason Momoa without a shirt on. And that's about it. That's about the most I know about these real popular movies these days. And it's not because I'm forbidden by my church. It is because it just doesn't interest me. So you call me an indie movie snob, you called me a food snob, you called me a number of things. And when my email box filled up with this crap, I forwarded it to the elders of our church who sit to deal with this crap and said, "Look at this A clown. Look at this butt clown what he's sending me because I won't be friends with him anymore because he used me as excuse when he was cheating." And uh, they busted him on it and gave him a hard time. And he said, "Well, I was just trying to bless Suzanne by dumping hot coals on her head." I said, "What do you mean dumping hot coals on my head?" And I mean, I had read the scripture many times about dumping hot coals on somebody's head, but I had not read it in the context he was trying to say. He was trying to say that by dumping hot coals on my head, I would have fire wherever I went. I was provided for, loved, beloved, instead of what it was. It was a curse trying to convict me of what he thought my sinfulness was because I would have nothing to do with him because he was a lying liar that lied. And tried to drag my ass into his lies, and there was nothing like that. Oops, I said another one of those bad words. YouTube's forbidden word list. I'm gonna have to go over it someday. It's really crazy things. For a long time, COVID was a word they you weren't allowed to say, or they would demonetize your videos. And I was like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm not allowed to say the name of the pandemic. Really? Okay, this is an interesting choice for you to make, YouTube. A very interesting choice. So there's that. I do have some fake Paul Stanleys on the hook, so I'm hoping eventually I'm gonna have live stream capabilities here again because I really want to toy with these jackasses. I got two of them fighting with each other right now, and that is the most fun that a girl can have without laughing. Because I said, he says you're the fake. No, he says you're the fake. And they keep fighting with each other. And that is the greatest thing on the planet. Those are the only ones I'm concentrating on now is the Paul Stanley of Kiss Fakers. Because they show up and I just insult them mercilessly, and they still do not get it. They still think they're going to scam me out of money. They're going to romance scam me. And that will never happen here. They're barking up the wrong tree in the worst way possible. I'm just going to waste their time and make them run around. That's the most fun. Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do, and that was the other thing I'll talk about a little bit about what's going on. I think what I'm gonna do is I am gonna start using this bad boy and see if I can live stream better with this because sometimes this thing is faster than this thing, even though both of these things are equally new. Sometimes the bandwidth here is bad, sometimes it's not. And sometimes with this, sometimes with this, I can at least access the cell phone tower sometimes, even though I may have to go stand out by the street to do so. Welcome to Costa Rica. So if you're in love with having to have electricity, apparently that's a new thing here where they're threatening us every day. We're gonna have to turn off the electric. We're gonna have to turn off the electric for 3 hours because the fact that the aquifer is completely drained and they just don't have any water to run the hydroelectrical system here, which I don't know why, because we have lots and lots of solar panels and lots of windmills in this country. Why we're not just running on those anyway. if water is going to be a problem. And that's something I think I want to talk about in the future is I think the way that the world is going is eventually water is going to be one of the most precious commodities, and people with money are going to always going to be able to get it. People without money are going to suffer. They're going to suffer, and we're going to see a whole lot worse things coming down the pike. And I hate to say that. I hate to sound all paranoid, but I'm just looking at everything these days and going, what the world is going on here? And with the price of everything going up, especially in the States, not so much here. I can't believe I just bought these for less than they are in the States, and they're the real deal. Um, Pro tip, if you're going to paint your toenails, OPI, okay, holds up. Sometimes you're better off buying the best thing you can get your hands on somewhere. So I know it's a bunch of rambling. I'm just in a rambling mood today. I haven't been around because I've had guests. The guests left this morning. I think they should have flown out by now. And I loved having them here, but now I have to go through the process of cleaning the guest house and doing all the laundry all over again. So that's why I'm dressed like a hot mess. I'm about to go out and start folding massive amounts of laundry. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I love you guys. Like I said, don't worry about what language comes out of your mouth after you leave. It's whatever language you're comfortable with. David Hayward, like I said, let me see if I could even pull up the list from here. He put out a list that was pretty good about why. And like I said, for me, it is all about comfort. There's a damn dog in my yard. Oh no. Sometimes there are no good words to describe stuff unless you use a colorful vulgarity. And never feel bad about your word usage, what choices, simple or hard, that you make. I love big words, but when I wrote my book, which I'm almost done with, I've got a few more things to do and then it goes out. When I wrote my book, I geared it to the exact same level of language as the usual no longer quivering reader. So it's not entirely the way I write. And I tried to do it in the most comical way possible because of the fact that so much of recovery from religion is so much hard work. And that's another reason why I'm such a big fan of the dirty words. I'm a fan of the dirty words because the dirty words can be a great release for the things you're feeling without you actually hurting anybody else. Now, I'm about to go out there and throw some dirty words at those dogs. There are two of them in my yard that somehow came in when the gate was open. And that's a whole different story, that stupid gate. We had to have it worked on again this week. And the guy who worked on it didn't do a good job. We're gonna have to tell him he's gonna come out here and completely redo it. Got dogs in the yard now. Okay. See you later.